Hey, what's up guys? In today's video, I'm going to be sharing part 2 of my top 25 female K-pop idols of 2025. I make this video twice a year and I kind of just want to go through a rundown of the idols that have impressed me the most for the second half of the year. Here's the criteria on what I'll base my judgment on, so you got things like growth, performances, potential, and so forth. This isn't going to be a super analytical kind of video, just me sharing my thoughts. That being said, let's jump right in. Alright, so kicking things off at number 25, I've chosen the maknae from Kiss of Life, Hanul. I think since her debut, Hanul has been one of the most talented maknaes in the industry. I mean, if you really want to compare her to the maknaes in other groups out there, Hanul is probably within the top 5. I mean, she can do it all. She can sing, dance, rap. I mean, she's easily an all-rounder. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call her an ace just yet. I do think she is still a few steps behind someone like Natty or Julie, but her potential of becoming an ace is very high, especially considering that she's part of one of the most talented groups of the 5th generation Kiss of Life. Last year, I think she did really well, but personally, I think this year she's doing even better. With her performances in Lip Sips Kiss and K-Bye, it really looks like her confidence on stage has improved significantly. Not only that, but her stage presence also seems a lot more stronger now. I feel like in previous comebacks, Natty and Julie felt like the center of attention, but I think since their Igloo era, it's been more evenly distributed throughout the group, which I think is really good for the long run. Back to Hanul though, even though I think she is improving, her performances don't feel super explosive to me. Now of course, not every idol needs to perform with the same intensity as Natty or Julie, but the difference is noticeable at times. Regardless, she's heading in the right direction. Now at number 24, I've gone with Mocha from Islet. I'd say with her debut with Islet, Mocha kind of came across as an idol who was very reserved in the beginning, and by that I mean she wasn't as outgoing as she is today, which to be fair isn't much of a surprise, as I feel like many rookie idols are like that in their first year. But this year it does feel quite noticeable how fast she has grown as an idol. Watching her perform on stage, you can clearly see how comfortable she feels around her members. I love her sense of enthusiasm, and you can tell that she's having fun being an idol, which is great to see. Especially since I believe that once an idol gets comfortable, they are able to focus more, which leads to better performances. Now, I wouldn't go as far as saying that she's the strongest in terms of talent, but I think she's pretty solid all around. And personally, I think she fits Islet's concept the most. I feel like this year especially, Islet has tapped into that J-pop sort of style, which I would say leans more towards a youthful and bubbly sort of aesthetic that Mocha represents really well. I still feel like Mocha has a long way to go to become a standout idol, but this year definitely showed us that she's on the right path. Now let's move along to number 23, where I've chosen Natty from Kiss of Life. I would argue that Natty is one of the top idols across all of the 5th generation. I mean, she's been an ace right from the very beginning, and her song Sugarcoat gave us a taste of her soloist potential. Last year really solidified her placement in the industry, as I would say that every comeback really felt like it was her era, with Sticky in particular being her premiere song. As for this year, I think she took a slight step back. I mean, I still think she's a leading idol, but T24 just didn't feel as impactful in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying she did bad at all. She actually did really good, but it just wasn't as explosive as Sticky or Igloo in my opinion. Still, however, I think her live performances were some of the best. I mean, she was consistently giving us strong vocal displays, and the choreography is probably the easiest part for her since she's one of the best dancers out there. I gotta be honest, I don't really have anything negative to say about Natty, but hopefully she returns with a stronger presence with Kiss of Life's next comeback. And also, I would love to see her make more solo music. I still think Sugarcoat is the best solo song across all 4 members, so more work from Natty would be much appreciated. Now up next at number 22, I've gone with the leader of ITZY, Yeji. I think Yeji had a really strong start to the year with her solo debut, Air, which I think was a very impressive release. Since then, she's returned with ITZY's Girls Will Be Girls, which I personally have mixed feelings about. But if we want to talk about Yeji alone, I think she continues to prove to me that she's one of the most consistent idols out there. I mean, if we really take a look back at all of ITZY's releases, I don't think Yeji has ever had a bad comeback, and I think for most of them she was actually the strongest in the group. I really love seeing the aggressive side come out of Yeji as she performs with such a powerful aura on stage, and with this comeback I think Yeji absolutely killed it, as it had a really powerful concept behind it. So more so, I'm just really impressed by Yeji's consistency in the industry. Now, would I say that she's in her prime? I have no idea. I think as an individual she's having a pretty good year, but I believe that she could continue to give us top shelf performances. Yeji's one of those idols that you can always count on, as I would say that she's one of the most talented across the entire industry, and also one of the best live performers as well. Now, if we want to talk about her and ITZY, comparing to last year, there just isn't much to compare. I mean, last year they had three comebacks versus this year with only one, so of course last year was better. More so for Born to Be. I feel like I always bring that up, but I think that comeback was phenomenal. Now, coming in at number 21, we've got Joy from Red Velvet. This year, she returns with her second solo album, From Joy with Love. Now, prior to this, I had no idea she had solo music out there, but similar to many, she does have a lot of collaborative work, mainly for K-drama soundtracks. Now, comparing this one to her first release, I kind of get the sense that she has an interest in Paris, as she does make some French references and is focused on love, which makes sense since it's globally known as the City of Love. And even her instrumental work takes some French inspiration, so in that sense, it's nice seeing an idol explore different cultures. Now, looking at the bigger picture, I think Joy's a pretty strong soloist. I mean, I do like her variety of music, and she leans more on the softer side of music styles, which I would say matches my taste for the most part, as I really love ballad-style songs, so her song Unwritten Page is a prime example. I would say that this release has changed my perspective on Joy. Prior to this, whenever I thought of Red Velvet, members like Irene and Solgi always come to mind first, but for sure, I will keep my eye on Joy moving forward. Now, would I put her on the same level as Irene and Solgi? I don't really think I can, as those two are just in a league of their own, but regardless, I think Joy can more than handle the solo stage. And now in 20th place, I've chosen Suwon from Meow. From the very beginning, I saw the potential in Suwon, and after a year, I still think she could be a leading idol of the fifth generation. With her performances this year for both Hands Up and Drop Top, I think Suwon has been the most consistent both on stage and in the studio. I still think that she's the clear ace of the group, and not only is she miles ahead in terms of dancing, but she also has great vocals and a strong stage presence. Not to discredit the rest of the members, I actually think all of the members are all-rounders and are very strong idols among the fifth generation, but Suwon's raw skill set is just more polished in my opinion. I personally enjoyed her performance in Hands Up the most, as that was more of an aggressive song, which I think really matches her style. So we got a great display of her sharp and powerful dancing capabilities, alongside her stable vocals, which I would say is quite impressive considering she's only debuted with Meow a year ago. Again, I do feel really good about her future in the industry. I'd say she's already on an elite level and has a clear path ahead of her to become a legendary idol. Now, she still has a long way to go, but she's definitely an idol to keep an eye on moving forward. And now at number 19, I've gone along with the leader of Islet, Yuna. I'd say for Yuna, comparing this year to last year is a night and day difference. I feel like last year, even though she did pretty well, I feel like she is significantly more dominant this year, and that goes for all areas: stage presence, confidence, and leadership. Now, no offense to her, I wouldn't necessarily say that she's the strongest leader out there. I mean, I could name many leaders who are significantly stronger than Yuna, but regardless, I do think that she's heading in the right direction. As for onstage performances, I think Yuna has never really had an issue. I mean, I wouldn't really call her the strongest member of the group. I'd probably give that to Minju or Wanhee, but either way, I think Yuna has improved her vocals a lot, and her choreography is still just as strong. I personally really loved her performance in Do the Dance and Jellius, as I would say those two are probably her premier songs in terms of execution. With that in mind, yes, Yuna is improving, but I think the only thing that she would have to work on is making herself a standout leader. By that I mean, when you look at leaders in other groups, they're typically one of the stronger members on stage, and with Yuna, I don't really see that at the moment. Now, is it necessary? Well, no. I think Islet in general are one of the most dominant groups in the entire industry today, so in that sense, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But on an individual level, I would kind of have higher expectations for a leader. Regardless, she's doing just fine. Coming in at number 18, I've chosen Sunya from Young Posse. This one was probably the most difficult for me considering how dominant every member has been in this group with their latest comeback. But I've chosen Sunya mainly because how consistent she's been since the very beginning. I think when it comes to the hip-hop style, she really represents that style almost to a T. This year, I think we've seen her in her most powerful form yet. With the release of both Cold and Freestyle, I think she has given us a standout display. I also really liked her performance in the song School's Out, which was a ballad with Doyeon, so in that sense, I do think she can switch up and perform more than just an aggressive style, which shows us her true ability as an idol. With this release, I think she's done a fantastic job from top to bottom. Now, would I call her my bias? Maybe. I do think it's a close tie between her and Youngjung, as I do believe they're both standout members, so I'm going to hold off my answer for that for a future video. I will say, however, Sunhye is probably one of the most underrated leaders out there. I think she's really talented and deserves more credit for her quality of work. Now, coming in at number 17 is Belle from Kiss of Life. I think prior to Igloo, it really felt like Belle has been a couple of steps behind Natty and Julie in terms of overall star power. But lately, I think she's been really impressive. With her performances in the 224 era, it really feels like her confidence has improved and her stage presence is levels above any previous comebacks. To me, she's still one of the most impressive vocalists across the fifth generation, and easily the best amongst Kiss of Life. I mean, she is the main vocalist, but to be fair, I think the rest of the members aren't too far behind, considering how talented of a group they truly are. I feel really good about her future in the industry. I think she does have the foundational talents to become a leading idol of the fifth generation. Would I consider her an ace? Almost. I think she pretty much covers everything at a high level, but her dancing isn't necessarily on the same level as someone like Julie, who I think is light years ahead in that area, but I'm sure with some practice, Belle could reach that point someday. Now coming up at number 16, I've chosen Somi. She's been a soloist for quite a few years now, and initially, she was supposed to debut with ITZY, which I think would have been a crazy lineup, as I do believe she's one of the top soloists out there. But if that were to happen, then we wouldn't have had Yuna, which would have been devastating. I personally can't picture ITZY without Yuna. But anyway, back to Somi. She returns this year with her single Extra and her mini-album Chaotic and Confused, both of which I think were absolute bangers. I know she has had past releases, but they've never really intrigued me enough to follow her. But I think with these two releases, I gotta say that I'm a fan of her work. I mean, the quality of her music is top shelf, but what also sticks out to me is that her music style has more of a Western pop influence to it, something that you don't really see too much in K-pop. And even though she only included 5 songs, I still think she managed to deliver great variety. Now, what really caught my eye from Somi were her performances. She's not super active or anything, but it was enough to capture my attention. I think she's a standout performer and was really built for the solo stage. Now, even though her music is great, I would really like to see her go on a world tour. Now, I'm not sure how her fans feel about her, but her confidence is through the roof, which I think really ties into her overall demeanor on stage, which really gives her a strong aura that makes her stand out from the rest in my opinion. And for our next idol at number 15, I've chosen the maknae from Meow, Ella. I think if we really want to compare all the maknaes across the 5th generation, I would make the argument that many of them are really talented and have great potential. And this year, I will toss Ella within that conversation. I think she had a pretty strong debut with Meow, but I think with their most recent comebacks, Hands Up, Drop Top, and even Me, 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 it really feels like Ella has grown so much in a short amount of time. I mean, her stage presence feels a lot more powerful, and her overall talent attributes look to be just as strong as the rest of the members, though I still think Suin is far superior with dancing, and I'd probably say Narin is a stronger vocalist. However, considering Ella's age as an idol, I think there is a clear path for her to reach the level of an ace and possibly a legend in the coming years, kind of similar to Kyujin and Chiquita in the sense that they're surrounded by so much talent. So more so, I'm really amazed by her potential in the industry. For this year alone, it really feels like Meow hasn't done much, but regardless, I think Ella has done a phenomenal job, more so with Hands Up, and I'd probably say that's her premier song so far in terms of execution. I really like her confidence on stage, and it already looks like she's comfortable with being an idol, which I would say puts her one step ahead, as I do believe some rookie idols sort of struggle to stand out the first year, especially maknaes, so good for her. Now, coming in at number 14, I've gone with Rose from Blackpink. I think since her solo album Rosie, my perspective on her has changed exponentially, and since late last year, she's been on top of the K-pop world. With the return of Blackpink and their single Jump, I think Rose has probably been the most impressive with that comeback. I mean, I really liked her performances both on the song and on the world tour, and it really feels like she's been getting a lot more support from fans lately, which is always good to see. And I'd say her stage presence is probably one of the best in the industry at this point. I think we are witnessing Rose in her prime, though I do think she's got a lot left in the tank. And that really excites me about her future in K-pop. I know this year she's been a little light with her solo releases, which is no surprise as her album came out late last year, but regardless, she has had some really good stuff come out this year, such as with the F1 movie and with Alex Warren. And let's not forget about her winning the Song of the Year at the VMAs, which I think is a huge achievement, not just for Rosie, but for K-pop as a whole. Now, I know Blackpink has an upcoming release, and I feel confident that Rose will do just fine, but I'm crossing my fingers to see more solo work from her soon. And now at number 13, I've chosen Asa from Baby Monster. I think since her debut, Asa has always been one of the pillars of Baemon, but this year, it really feels like she's making a name for herself within the fifth generation. Granted, yes, Baby Monster has only pushed out 2 singles, but are currently on one of the biggest tours of the year. I'd say with the release of Hot Sauce, Asa was easily the most dominant member. I think since she lives and breathes rapping, that she really matched that old school hip hop style the most, and it really feels like she's grown so much as an idol already. What really caught my attention from her the most this year though was her onstage performances. Asa is one of those kind of idols that can really do it all, and she can easily perform both in a calm and an aggressive tone, which makes her live performances exciting to watch. Not only that, but when she performs, it really feels like the spotlight shines the brightest on her because her stage presence is just on another level. I feel like when Baemon was debuting, it really felt like everyone had their cards on the table for Aehyun as the it girl or the next Jennie of the fifth generation, which I do think is still valid. But now I think Asa has stepped up and belongs within that conversation. Now, I'm not taking away anything from the rest of the members, but Asa just hits different. Without question, I would call her an ace, and it even aligns with her name, which I think is kind of funny. But I think when it comes to rapping, nobody really comes close to her if you ask me. Asa's raw power is on a generational scale, and I can't wait to see her future performances. Now at number 12, I've gone with the leader of Kiss of Life, Julie. Similarly to Natty, I think 2024 was a defining year for her career. She's explosive and is easily one of the most talented idols across the fifth generation, and possibly the industry. I mean, if you really examine her talents closely, she does everything at a high level. Her vocals are top shelf quality, she's one of the best rappers out there, though I'd say both Soyeon and Asa are superior in that space. Her dancing and stage presence is some of the best that I've seen in a while, and not to mention, she's a pretty strong leader. As for 2025, I think she's still out here performing at a high level. What I really like about Julie is her consistency and her sense of enthusiasm on stage, but also I do love her flexibility as an idol. She can perform in just about any style you throw at her, whether it's ballads, R&B, or rapping. Julie can really do it all. So in that sense, it really does feel like she's the jack of all trades. And I don't see her slowing down anytime soon. Matter of fact, I can only see her going up from here. I've also noticed how she's been tapping into collaborations with other idols. So for example, she did a song with Irene and Seulgi for the track What's Your Problem, which is my personal favorite from that release. And I think Julie did a phenomenal job with her rapping execution on that song. Last year, she also collaborated with Nayeon for her song Magic, which is also my favorite song from that release. And again, Julie did an amazing job. Now, she's still got a long way to go for her career as an idol, but I think she has already marked herself as a rising K-pop icon within the fifth generation. With Kiss of Life's return of 224, I think Julie impressed me the most, mainly because she still has that same dominance as last year, so it really feels like she isn't letting her foot off the gas, which I'd say can be kind of difficult for some idols out there, but again, Julie is just built different. I personally loved her performance for the song Heart of Gold, as we really saw the full power of her rapping capabilities, and it wasn't aggressive or anything, but it came off so smooth, making it one of my favorite songs from them. Regardless, I do feel really good about her future in the industry, and I hope to see her return with another solo song someday, as it's been a while. Now, coming in at 11th place, I've gone along with Wonhee from Islet. I think since day one, Wonhee has probably been one of the most consistent members in Islet. I mean, early on, it really felt like she was the center of the group, but I think that's no longer the case this year. Still, however, she really stands out to me with her vocal work on songs like Almond Chocolate, which I would consider one of my top 3 favorite Islet songs. And in just about every performance this year, Wonhee has still managed to put on a strong display. I really feel like not many people talk about Wonhee's potential. I mean, she's probably not an ace or even a leading idol of the fifth generation, but I do think she does have the foundational skill set to get to that point someday in her career. I would say that she's very similar to Minju in the sense that they're pretty well rounded, but just not super explosive. But again, their concepts align more within the elegant and Y2K sort of space of K-pop, so there aren't many opportunities for them to showcase their true potential. Still, however, I think she's having a great year and has already made herself a standout member of Islet. Moving forward, however, I would like to see Islet showcase Wonhee's vocal attributes a bit more. I feel like we got a slight taste of that on their song Almond Chocolate, but I think she could show us a lot more. And now for number 10, I've chosen the leader of Red Velvet, Irene. You know, last year I was pretty surprised with her solo release, which I think really changed my perspective on her as an idol. With Tilt, however, it really feels like we've got a chance to witness a whole different side to her. I mean, I feel like Red Velvet has covered a wide range of concepts from bright and bubbly all the way to the dark and horror theme. All of which I think she represented really well, with my personal favorite being the darker side of her. With Tilt, she tapped more into her sensual and sophisticated side, and I feel like she put on a phenomenal display. Now, I gotta admit, it didn't necessarily feel as dominant as Solgi's execution, but regardless, I still think Irene played her part really well. So for these two, it really feels almost like a 1A and 1B type situation. You can honestly place them in whichever order you'd like. Now, I gotta say, Irene doesn't necessarily strike me as the most explosive idol out there. I do think she focuses more on elegance and stage presence, which is fine, and honestly, it complements Solgi, and really balances things out on stage, so it doesn't feel too much of the same. Now, coming in at number 9, I've gone with the leader of Twice, Jihyo. Jihyo is one of the few idols out there that you can always count on to put on a good show. With the return of Twice this year and the releases of This Is For and Enemy, I think Jihyo has probably been the most impressive. I mean, I don't know how long it's been, but for a while now, many fans have regarded her as one of the strongest idols in all of K-pop, and today I think that statement still stands. Particularly with her performances at Lollapalooza, Jihyo really shined from start to finish. I mean, so did the rest of the members to be fair, but Jihyo was just on another level. And let's not forget how amazing her vocal work was on Takedown, which was for the movie K-pop Demon Hunters. Now, Twice doesn't necessarily have the most aggressive concepts, so at times it's kind of hard to see Jihyo at her full potential. However, I think This Is For had more of an exciting sort of style, which allowed Jihyo to really stretch her wings. Would I say she's in her prime? I think physically, yes. As an idol, I'm not entirely sure. I personally would love to see Jihyo have another solo release, as I really liked her first one, so I'll keep my fingers crossed for her. And now coming in at number 8, we have Solgi from Red Velvet. So I feel like I kind of already touched on this earlier, but I feel like this comeback had more of a mature and sophisticated sort of concept, which I would say fits Solgi like a glove. Yes, Red Velvet has gone through many different concepts in the past, but for some reason I think Solgi's colors truly aligns with Tilt. She really had a dominating aura, and the power that she showed on stage felt almost unrecognizable. The fact that she's a third-gen idol and putting out insane performances like she did this year really amazes me. Solgi still proves to me that she's one of the most dominant idols in the industry, as she put on a very strong display, which showcased much of her vocals and dancing abilities. Her stage presence was out of this world, and the support from her fans proves to us that she's still out here killing it. I think Solgi is having a great year with both her solo release and her subunit work. I'd easily put her in the same conversation as some of the best idols in all of 2025. Now, I would argue that Solgi is in her prime, which really excites me for her future work. Coming in at number 7, we've got Minju from Islet. I think since day one, Minju has been probably the most well-rounded and dominant member of Islet. This year, with Do the Dance and Topping, I think that statement still stands. Honestly, I think a lot of fans really overlook her talents. I'd say her vocals have improved a lot since last year, and her dancing has always been pretty damn strong. Obviously, it's a good distance from Iroha, but regardless, Minju is doing a fine job this year. I would argue that she really feels like the center at times with her strong stage presence, and I think she's proven to be a formidable idol of the 5th generation. Now, I probably wouldn't stack her up against somebody like Natty or Asa in terms of star power, but I also don't think she's too far behind. Islet deals more within the elegant and Y2K sort of concept, so there isn't a ton of explosive moments like for Kiss of Life, for example, but their footwork in Jellius does show that they can still put on a pretty impressive performance. Back to Minju though, I feel really good about her future in the industry, and what she's done with Islet so far has been consistently impressive. I personally think Do the Dance is her best work by far, but it also feels like every comeback is her era, which is quite impressive considering she's only been with Islet for a little over a year. Now coming in at number 6, I've selected Ray from IVE. I think out of the majority of idols out there, Ray has developed the most since her debut. I mean, if you really want to compare her XOXZ era to her debut days, it's really a night and day difference. I'd probably say since her Ascendio era, she's been getting a lot of support from fans, and her stage presence has risen significantly, which makes me really happy for her. Even with all that said, I still don't think she's on the level of either Wonyoung or Yoojin. Not in a bad way, I still think she's heading in the right direction, but those two are just in a league of their own. With that in mind, I do think Rei has proven herself to be a formidable idol of the fourth generation. I mean, especially for her rapping attributes, which we've seen on full display all year long. Not only that, but I think with I've Secret, we kind of got a chance to see more of a mature side of Rei. I mean, normally when I think of Rei, I think of someone who's always bubbly and sweet, but when she starts rapping all these songs, she's like a whole different person, which to this day still catches me off guard, but I love it. I feel really good about her future in the industry and with IVE, and I think she's finally getting the love and respect that she deserves. And for that, I'd say 2025 really feels like her year. Now, coming in fifth place, I've gone with Chaeyoung from Twice. So, over the past few years, we've slowly seen the Twice members tap into their soloist potential. So, think of Jihyo, Nayeon, Tsui, and now Chaeyoung. And prior to this year, I probably would have expected something from like the Misamo members, mainly because they've already given us 3 solo songs last year on their album, so this solo debut really felt like it caught me off guard, but also I think it might be one of my favorites across the Twice members. Though I gotta admit, Nayeon's solo career is just on another level, but Chaeyoung just got started, so I think it's too early for me to speak on that. But so far from what I've seen, I'm really impressed. First of all, I really love her taste in music. I mean, this album is super laid back and taps into multiple genres, which shows us how versatile she can be. So you can find songs on here that have R&B, pop, soul, ballads, etc. I mean, I believe this album has a ton of replay value to it and has actually changed my perspective on Chaeyoung as an idol, as now I believe that she has a lot of potential to become a leading soloist. I would even go as far as saying that we have yet to see Chaeyoung at her full potential. Especially considering her age, I think there is still so much more for her in the industry. Now, let's not forget about her performances this year with Twice, which I think was pretty good, but honestly not as explosive as Jihyo or Momo in my opinion. That said, I think she was a lot more dominant for her performance on the song Takedown, which was for the movie K-pop Demon Hunters. I really like her flow on that song, and I think a lot of fans really overlook her rapping abilities, which I think we've seen more of on her solo album. That said, her solo album has really made me a fan of her, and I hope to see more work from her someday. Now in fourth place, we have Giselle from aespa. Similarly to Rei, I think Giselle has been probably the idol who has grown the most since her debut. I mean, especially after Whiplash, even to the point where it felt like she had serious leadership qualities. Now, I still think Karina is part of that top 1%, but I really think Giselle has the potential to reach the same caliber as her in a few more comebacks. This year with Dirty Work, Dark Arts, and Rich Man, I think Giselle has been thriving all year long. I mean, it really feels like she's pushing to become an iconic idol, and I'd say the path is clearly there for her. She's part of one of the biggest groups out there today, and what she's done so far has really placed her in that conversation as a leading idol of the fourth generation. What I really like about her is how confident she is on stage, and I feel like that really ties in with her performance, which makes her look a lot more dominant. I mean, you can clearly see how comfortable she is on stage and just being an idol in general. I think it's probably the strongest in the industry. Let's not forget how talented she is. I mean, I would argue that she's been an ace for a while now, but now it's like how high can she go, right? Personally, I think the sky is the limit for Giselle. Last year, we kind of got a glimpse of her solo potential with her song Dopamine, which is personally my favorite solo song across the aespa members. I do hope to see more solo work from her again someday, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That said, I think she's really soaking in the moment of aespa being so dominant, which I think inspires her to go above and beyond, which is great. Now, coming in third place, I've chosen the leader of aespa, Karina. I think with everything that happened last year, the generational run with aespa and her solo song, I think it was obvious that Karina was on top of the K-pop world in 2024. And to be fair, I think she still is. For me, however, 2025 doesn't feel as dominant. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think she's doing a great job. After all, I do have her in third place, right? With both Dirty Work and Rich Man, I still really feel like Karina is the center of attention. And by that, I mean she still feels like the tip of the spear when it comes to aespa. Her stage presence is immaculate. And I got a chance to experience that earlier this year, and it's insane how much control she has of the crowd. However, that was prior to Dirty Work, but since then, I think she's still out here owning the stage. What I really like about Karina the most, though, is her consistency as an idol. But in her case, it seems that she has been improving with every single comeback since her debut with aespa. But now that we've already seen her reach the highest level of K-pop, I'm not sure exactly how much higher she can go. I mean, will she become similar to Jennie or Rosé to the point where she transcends K-pop and becomes a global icon? I think Karina does have the foundation to reach that level in a few more years, but I think if she really wants to get to that point, then we would need to see more solo work from her. I mean, take a look at the song Up, right? It was like one of the biggest songs last year, so there's clearly a lot of potential for her. And I think she really needs to take advantage of this opportunity to go all out with a solo release, but that's just my opinion. I mean, she is my aespa bias, so I would personally love to see that happen. With all that in mind, I think Karina is having another great year. Now, it's not as big as last year, of course, but still, I think she's doing really well for herself. And now coming in at second place, I've chosen Wonyoung from IVE. For as long as I can remember, anytime I think of IVE, Wonyoung always comes to mind first. And by that I mean not only would I argue that she's the it girl of the fourth generation, but consistently with every single comeback, it really feels like she's always been the center. Like, yeah, there's been moments where they've tried letting other members have the spotlight, but honestly, it just doesn't hit as powerful as Wonyoung. Now, I'm not trying to discredit the rest of IVE, but Wonyoung's presence is just on a whole nother level. This year with XOXZ, it really feels like one of her most powerful comebacks in a long time. I would probably still say that Love Dive is my favorite era of Wonyoung, but XOXZ comes really close. This comeback has more of an aggressive and powerful concept, which I think we haven't seen from IVE probably since their baddie era, and I would even say that this comeback takes inspiration from Ascendio with its subtle hip-hop style, but also not steering too far from their elegant concept. Speaking of elegance, I think Wonyoung is the pinnacle when it comes to that sort of style in K-pop, and I feel like she reminds me a lot of the idols from the second and early third generations, which we don't really see too much of today. Not only that, but Wonyoung looks a lot more healthy now, and you can clearly see how this is affecting her performance, and it really looks like she's thriving, which makes me really happy for her. Are we witnessing Wonyoung in her prime? Probably. I still think she has a few more years to reach that point, but I would definitely mark her as an iconic fourth generation idol already. And finally, in first place, I feel like this may surprise some, I've chosen the maknae of Islet, Iroha. Guys, if you asked me who I thought would have impressed me the most in 2025 late last year, my answer would have been entirely different. But since the start of the year, I think Islet has really seen the potential in their maknae and has really made her feel like the center this year. With their performances in Almond Chocolate, Do the Dance, Jellies, and Topping, I really feel like Iroha has really been in the spotlight more, mainly for her incredible dancing displays. I mean, I kind of saw this early on last year. I do think Iroha is probably one of the best dancers in the fifth generation, and probably within the top 10 in the industry. And she is clearly light years ahead of her members. I mean, I've seen some clips where they perform Jellies, and Iroha finishes first with ease, but the rest of the members are just out of breath, which I thought was pretty funny. Not only that, but I've also been seeing her fan base growing exponentially, especially after Jellius, which I think is her premiere song. Her stage presence has improved a lot, and I would probably say that she's one of the most impressive maknaes out there today. Now, I'm not calling her an absolute ace. I do think her dancing is on an elite level, but the rest of her talents aren't really that strong. However, I'm sure she could improve in those areas as she does develop, so I think she'll be just fine. After having a strong 2025, I think Iroha has really built the foundation for her future, and I think she is on the path of becoming a leading idol someday. Now, she's only been with Islet for a little over a year, so she does have a long way to go, but regardless, I think she has a strong start to her career. And there you guys have it, part 2 of my top 25 female K-pop idols of 2025. Now, we still got a couple of months to get through, so I'm sure we'll see a lot more releases come out. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and feel free to share your top 25 as well. Do keep in mind, I'm just making these videos for fun. I don't claim to be a professional or anything. I'm just an average guy talking about K-pop. That said, we're getting closer to daesang season, so I will be talking about my final picks pretty soon, so I hope you do stick around for that. If you enjoyed the video, then please drop a like, as that does help out the channel a ton, and consider subscribing for more videos like this in the future. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Take care.